This is SuperYacht News. In association with Go Earth, navigating boat buyers to better deals. Hi, welcome back to the channel. So we are currently on the road, so excuse my attire and the randomness seemingly of these videos. I know we normally put one out on a Friday, but we were unable to do that. For the next 4 days, 3 or 4 days, it's going to be a bit haphazard as to when we post videos. But we wanted to post a video today based on news that's come out with regards to reporting by the New York Post. They reported that 3 of the crew of the Bayesian, which we've mentioned previously, are officially under criminal suspicion as divers start to recover the vessel from the seabed. Now, that does not mean that they've been charged. I'm not quite sure what the difference is between what they already said. They already said that there was a criminal prosecution, a criminal investigation underway not long after the yacht sank. But now they're saying that they're officially under criminal suspicion. I don't see the legal differences between those two things. They have not been charged with these things. But I'm going to read some from the New York Post. 3 crew members of the Bayesian superyacht are officially under investigation for crimes including negligence, recklessness, and failing to save the ship from an oncoming storm, according to Italian prosecutors. Captain James Cutfield, the chief engineer Timothy Parker, and deckhand Matthew Griffiths are in line to face criminal charges, according to the public prosecutor of Termini Imerese in Sicily, close to where the yacht sank amid a severe storm. The potential charges were set out as rescue workers strive to raise the vessel, currently 50 meters or 164 foot below the surface off the coast of Porticello. Allegedly, through negligence consisting of malpractice, recklessness, and inexperience, Griffiths, who was on night watch at the time, he was the deckhand who was on night watch, which he's not qualified to do, which I said in one of the very first videos. They said that he did not realize that the boat had taken on water, according to the prosecutor's decree obtained exclusively by the Post, the New York Post. It says Griffiths and Eaton allegedly did not promptly warn Cuffield, that's the captain, or take measures to deal with the emergency, while Cuffield did not notify passengers that there was danger of impending shipwreck, according to the decree. Now, if you'll cast your mind back to that, to when this happened, some of the things that came up at the time were, some of the things that they've mentioned here in this article about, first of all, about Griffiths, who was the deckhand, who's not qualified to do a bridge watch, but he was on an anchor watch, right? This is how they do it on these small yachts, but he's not qualified to hold a watch on the bridge. So I was always dubious about that practice of having somebody not qualified to do a bridge watch who's able to do an anchor watch from the bridge. Now, they mentioned Timothy Parker Eaton, who was the chief engineer. However, there's only one engineer on this vessel, so he's a sole engineer. Chief engineer is a title, and it suggests he has a team, which he did not on this vessel. And so they're saying that the Griffiths did not realize the vessel had taken on water. I'm not sure. We are not privy to all of the information right now, which the prosecutors, I would assume, have more information than what we know of this incident, because they're saying that he didn't realize the vessel had taken on water. I'm not quite sure how he's supposed to know that from the bridge. If he was on the bridge on anchor watch, the vessel, a sailing yacht does list over, so that you've got to think of it from a point of view of the people on board and what they're used to experiencing. A vessel like that does list over quite heavily, whereas a sailing yacht can list without there necessarily being something wrong with that vessel, right? It has this huge mast, 72-meter mast, and the mast could create windage even when the sails were not out, right? Because the boat's at anchor, but the mast was so huge that it could still create a situation where it could push the boat over. So how he's meant to know that the vessel's taken on water? I mean, in my own experience, when the only way you'll know if a boat's taken on water is when you send an assessment party to the lower decks to check around the areas, the keel, to see if water is indeed coming in. So as he's on watch on the bridge, I'm not sure how he's supposed to know if there's water. I mean, on board. I mean, in certain areas there will be bilge alarms or flooding alarms, and if those alarms sounded, then I mean, I don't see how he would not know that that was the case. But yeah, they don't go into any details on that. And they also say that the captain didn't notify the passengers that there was a danger of impending shipwreck. We don't know at what point of time that they're talking about here in that timeline. There was mention previously where the captain, Griffiths, Matthew Griffiths, the deckhand on the bridge, said that the captain told him to go wake everybody up. And I said at the time when that first came out that it was probably referring to the crew, right? From the point of when they knew there was a storm coming in to the point where the vessel actually foundered and got knocked down and didn't return up, there was a very short amount of time. But at the beginning, when the wind got certain strength, I believe that the captain, because Griffiths was the deckhand on the watch, was unqualified and inexperienced, the captain probably said to him, if the wind gets over a certain speed, wake me up. So at that speed, I think it was 20 knots, Griffiths said he woke up the captain. The captain said, go wake everybody up and start putting things away outside. Now, I said at the time, I suspect he means the crew. Go and wake the crew up, and people disagreed with me in the comments. The reason why I said that is because at that moment in time, even though they knew it was getting windy, and what the captain was thinking about is we need to stow everything away out on deck, all the cushions and all of the things that could go over the side if the wind picks up too much. And that's what I believe he meant when he said go wake everybody up. He meant go and wake up the rest of the crew up, which didn't include the chef, I don't believe, because the chef's on his own schedule, right? Because he's got to cook and everything. So they probably left him sleeping, woke up everybody else. They went out on deck, started to clear away everything. Now, you don't do that if you think the vessel's about to sink. You're not concerned with cushions and things. So they went outside, they started to clear up, and then this freak weather hit, boom, and then the boat's on its side and everybody's in the water. And from their own testimony, they said that they climbed back onto the vessel and tried to help people escape, right? So it happened very quickly. So them saying, and so when they say Cutfield didn't notify the passengers there was a danger of impending shipwreck, but we do know that Griffiths said that the captain told him to go wake everybody up, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I think the difference is there in those two bits of information. Now, the authorities believe human error as well as the violent storm contributed to the sinking of the Bayesian. So that's what they're saying based on what they know already. Like I said, they're probably privy to more information than we are, almost certainly. But they say that there are no criminal charges have been made and none will be made until the ship has been raised and its hull investigated, according to the police. And it says manslaughter charges remain on the table. Prosecutors have previously warned. Now, there's another bit here which is interesting, and I'm going to address as well. It says Mario Bellavista, attorney for Ricardo Thomas, the yacht's cook who drowned. So I think they probably mean that he's been hired by the family of Ricardo Thomas to represent him, because obviously he passed away. So, but it's a little bit confusing there because they're saying he's representing Ricardo Thomas, and he says that he maintains the only way for water to have come into the boat would have been through an open hatch. That is not true. That's what he's maintaining, but that is not the case with this vessel. We've gone into it in depth over the months during our reporting, that there are various different ways for water to get into this vessel, including, and the most likely scenario is the dampers on the vessel. The vessel only needed to lean over to about 42 degrees, which is much less than the almost 90 degrees, 88 degrees. Costantino, the CEO of Italian Sea Group, says that the vessel could go over to 88 degrees with the keel down, or 77 degrees with the keel up, remember. Well, 42 degrees is the angle at which water ingress would start, which is what's known as the downflooding angle, which means that the water comes in above any watertight doors, in through those vents, and it starts to flood that vessel. Now, the Italian Sea Group said that the vessel can stay afloat with 2 flooded compartments. We've had information from sources who've worked on these vessels that said that there were only really 2 properly watertight compartments on these vessels because of the vents and the dampers that allowed air into the engine room, that allowed air into the AC systems, allowed air into the galley and all of the areas where people lived. You can't count those as properly watertight, right? If you close the watertight doors, those compartments still have somewhere where water can ingress if the boat lists over far enough. So the only way for it to be properly watertight is for those vents to be closed. So there are only 2, according to our sources, there are only 2 properly watertight compartments when the doors are closed. So the statement that lawyer has made there is factually incorrect. He goes on to say, I know that the defense claims they were closed, but there is no evidence to confirm that they remained closed as the sea rose, Bella Vista told the Post. Otherwise, he continued, it's not clear where the water could have entered from. So, like I said, he seems to have a lack of understanding of how this boat works, how dampers work, how the engines work inside of a vessel's hull, how they get air. Without air, an engine cannot run. They come in through vents on the side, which we've shown in the past. So, yeah. So I'm not really sure where he's getting his information from, but it sounds like he doesn't really know what he's talking about. Now, what we have said in the past is that Swiss cheese model, where they have a series of incidents that accumulate, and they line up in a certain way that a big incident happens, and that's most incidents that happen or accidents that happen with airlines is a combination of maintenance errors or human errors or mechanical issues with an aircraft, right? And I would suspect we're going to see some combination of that with this. That's just speculation at this point because we don't have any more information. Now, one of the things that is interesting is having spoke to people who've worked on these vessels, and we had one of our sources is an engineer who worked on these vessels for a long time. He told us that on the very early vessels, there was an escape hatch that led from the owner's cabin out onto the deck on the early models, and that escape hatch was removed on later models. That's something that seems almost unbelievable that they would remove an escape hatch, unless of course they didn't feel like they needed it. We also spoke to somebody who used to work on board Bayesian, and she told us that on occasion, on crossings and certain times, she would stay in a guest cabin, and she told us that she felt very trapped when she was inside of the vessel because of the limited amount of escape routes from those cabins. So that's very interesting perspective, isn't it, from somebody who actually spent time on board. So yeah, it seems odd that they would remove an escape hatch, that there were no escape hatches in any of those guest cabins. And I think that's something that any future vessels that are built will no doubt have escape hatches from those areas. Anyway, guys, I'll leave it there. The 2 lifts that are going to be used to raise the vessel are now in Sicily. They're in Termini Imerese, which is basically where the investigation is being controlled from. And it sort of seems to be like a point of where everybody's gathering together before they start on the procedures of lifting this boat out of the water. Stay tuned. We're going to be covering this in detail as the vessel is raised. So stay tuned to the channel. If you haven't subscribed already, please be sure to do so. And yeah, stay tuned. Like I said, the next few days is going to be a bit hit and miss as to when we post, but we'll be back to normal in maximum in 4 days. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch up with you soon. Bye-bye.